What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back with another tier list. This is my updated 12.1 tier list. We are 1 week into the patch, so a lot has changed. There's some different comps that have evolved from previous comps. New comps entirely have been created. Some comps have gotten better, some comps have gotten worse just over the course of the patch, and I've gotten a lot more data from Challenger games, my own games, just statistics. So I wanted to update my composition list. The other thing that's cool that I have now is I added this spreadsheet that will link you to a lot of mobalytics pages that actually show you the compositions, the positioning. Really, the biggest thing that this will show for you is the units that are in the composition. Eventually, I'll add like items for all the champions, which I think will be really useful. But right now, I just want to get this information out here with all of the compositions, what a really good version of them looks like. It's not the only version, and we'll get into that as we talk about it. So what I want to start with is this Jace, Orianna, Seraphine. This is like a group here in S tier, and you can see it in this version of the comp. So this is one version of the comp that runs a Jace carry. You cap out your board like this with the Blitzcrank Scion frontline, the Enchanters, the Janna, Orianna, Yuumi combination that people call Joy, and then just a Seraphine and a Jace here. This composition does really well with Chalices. So if you guys haven't seen my ice cream cone video, I would check it out. It's a good version of this comp, dropping the Jace, but just playing these two, which is something that you can totally do. You can drop this Jace and play a lot of stuff. You can drop the Jace and play like a Jhin instead. You can drop the Jace, and if you really need more frontline, you can play like a Braum frontline and just play these as your carry if you have a lot of damage here, but you need more frontline. There's a lot of like small changes you can make to this comp, but it's a really good just sort of like baseline. These are all very high quality units that synergize pretty well with each other. As you can see, there's a decent number of synergies here. So this is just a really solid like cap late game board. If you go for this board every game, I don't know if you guys watch Soju, but Soju had a stream where he basically went for this board every game. They're usually playing like the Jhin and sometimes getting a Kaisa in there, and like he climbed a rank 1 NA. So definitely play around these units. They're very strong. So next up on the comp list is Jhin. Jhin, I had an S tier last tier list. I think he is still a very strong S tier unit. So here's an example of a comp with that same front line, that same Janna, Orianna, Yuumi. Are you sensing something here? These are really OP units. Then you just throw in a Jhin and you throw in a sniper. This Misfortune could come out, and you could put in something like a Braum for more frontline. If you have like a really good Socialite Hex, you could throw in like Taric for more Enchanter, plus using the Socialite Hex, say if it was like right here. So those are some permutations of this comp, but this is the basic idea of the Jhin comp. And I already talked about it last tier list, so I don't want to go into too much depth. If you want more of me talking about it, you can check out my last video. Next is the Syndicate Assassins. Last comp tier list, I had them in A tier, now I have them in S tier. They're too good. You know, you can stabilize so well with a Shaco 2-star and some good assassins, and like honestly, if you hit Shaco 3-star with great items, you're just absolutely popping off. So here's an example, 5 Syndicate 4 assassin board with these assassins, the 2 Syndicates as your front line, and throw a Janna in there so you can get the Scholar buff and the Scrap buff off Echo. So yeah, this is what a Syndicate Assassins board looks like. You carry either the Akali or the Shaco with AP items or AD items, and it just does really well. You can either hit a Shaco 3 and play around that, or you can just go fast 8, try to hit Akali, and she can stabilize you decently well, and if you hit an Akali too, you should definitely be top 4ing if you can, you know, build a decent board around and you have enough HP. So that's this comp. I think it's quite strong this patch, and it does fairly well into some of these comps like Jhin. If you can jump on Jhin and just assassinate him really quickly, it's really good. It doesn't do very well into like stuff like Kaisa, which we'll get into in a second. But it has some interesting matchups. You know, it does well into stuff like Lux, as long as they don't have Runic Shield to block your assassins. So that's the S tier. I think these are the best comps right now. But like honestly, you can see this nice little like pyramid I have going on here. There's a lot of stuff in S tier and a lot of stuff in A tier. I think this is a fairly well balanced patch. There's like a lot of different stuff you can play. You know, there's no like, oh man, this guy's forcing Kaisa every day, or you know, he's forcing Katarina every single game. No, like you can play a lot of different stuff to top 4. So I think it's a very well made patch, honestly, and I'm happy it looks so good. So I would, if you could play any of these comps, it would be totally fine. And anything in A tier, honestly. That being said, let's get an A tier. First A tier comp, Kog'Maw, near and dear to my heart. I love me a Kog'Maw game. If you're a beginner and you don't want to learn how to play the game, just play Kog'Maw every game. Just play Kog'Maw every game, reroll for Kog'Maw. and you'll go up in LP. It's not always best to play Kog'Maw from every spot, but like the lower rank you are, the easier it is. You can just force Kog'Maw as long as you're not super contested. Sometimes, you know, I honestly don't know what like low elo, like bronze, silver, gold, actually looks like. Like if there's just 18 people forcing Kog'Maw every single lobby, then maybe don't do it. But yeah, this is what a Kog'Maw comp looks like. Very well synergized. You see there's a ton of synergies that are activated with the interactions between all these units. If you guys haven't seen me playing Kog'Maw, you are rerolling for Caitlyn, Garen, Kassadin, Graves, and Kog'Maw. You're itemizing Kassadin and Kog'Maw. This comp can work with most mutations, honestly. Like, probably the worst one is the Synaptic Web that makes them cast more often, decreases their max mana. But even that, it's fine. Like, you can play this with almost, I would say any mutation you can play this with. So that's something to keep in mind as well, or to just not keep in mind. Don't even look at the mutation, just play this if you get a good opener for it. Or if you just want for elo, I think you could probably force this comp every game and do well. So yeah, I like this comp a lot. I think it is still very solid. The best reroll comp, in my opinion, right now. Next, you have this combo of Kaisa plus Fiora. You pretty much always play them together. Though, sometimes you're going to be playing like a Socialite carry Fiora. I feel like that's fallen off a bit, and I don't think it's as strong. I think a board like this looks a lot stronger, where you just have strong frontline with the Braum plus the Blitzcrank, and you could maybe even fit a Scion in there if you took out Braum plus one of these other units, like Janna or Orianna or something. You could fit in a Scion if you wanted to. But yeah, just strong frontline here. Good backline with the Jace that also gives you Enforcer off Fiora. And then, this positioning's a little bit whack. You should probably do something more like this, where Fiora's not getting focused immediately, but you get the idea. And then you also have the Kaisa in the backline, so you can itemize both of them, either of them really. GA is probably a good flex item that you can play on either one of them. Then like Morello's on Kaisa is really good. Fiora likes AD items. She likes like Giant Slayer. She likes I think Bloodthirster is actually really good on her. Hodge is good on her. You can even play like JG on her and do like JG IE. There's actually a lot of stuff you can put on Fiora that makes her work. So this is sort of a capped 2 challenger board with just these 2 carries plus this Janna Orianna Yuumi, this enchanter backline that it's just so good in so many comps. Like honestly, if you play a Janna Orianna Yuumi and then you play like Blitzcrank plus Scion or Braum, you can throw in like almost anything and make it work. These are the best comps with it though. So that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, we have Lux after that, which I also talked about in my last tier list video. I was maybe a little too high on it. I still think it's really good. Like these are not in order. I think Lux probably is better than Kog'Maw if you hit a good board for Lux. And this is what a good board looks like. You just get your 6 Arcanist in, throw in a Scholar with Janna plus Yuumi, and you're chilling here. Ideally, you hit a 1+1 Arcanist, and then you can cut Swain or something like a Taric for more Enchanter. You can throw in a Orianna as well for more Enchanter. Even at that point, you could maybe make the transition to like a Taric or a Blitzcrank plus a Scion frontline if you wanted to. That's probably fine. I haven't played it a lot myself, but if you got them 2-starred, I think it would be totally good. But generally, you're just playing around the 6 Arcanists, stacking Lux with really good items. You can play Malzahar carry, and it's all right. If you hit a Malz 3 and you have really good Malz items, then, you're just playing Malzahar carry with Arcanist from that spot. So it's not a crazy thing. And also, another point about this comp is that you really like hitting a Vex 3. So sort of like a sign for you to play this comp is if you are early game, you get Yordles really quickly, and you hit a ton of Vexes. Like you hit Vex 2 in like stage 2, then you're like, okay. And then you see like 2 more Vexes before the end of stage 3. You're like, okay, so I'm gonna make a Vex 3 this game, and she's gonna give me crazy frontline. So yeah, that's what Arcanists look like. Still think they're very strong. And then lastly here I have Talon carry, which I actually think you can see Samira down here. I think Talon carry is better than Samira carry, which I think is just a result of them continuously buffing Talon. They buffed him last patch, or I guess this patch, even though I thought he was a really strong unit last patch. So this is the kind of board that you play around this. You play 4 Assassins, 3 Imperials, and you just have Talon jump on people. With the newly buffed Rapid Fire Cannon, Talon is so good. He loves that attack speed and the sort of ranged attack, kind of like Nocturne from last set, where you have an assassin with an RFC and he can just auto attack everything to death without actually like jumping on top of them and taking a lot of aggro. So that's a really good item on him. But just generally attack speed items. IE is always good on any assassin. You can even throw a Hextech Gunblade on him, and it's pretty good. So there's actually a lot of interesting items on Talon. So it'll be interesting once I get items on all these carries, just to show you guys what actually the best items on them are. But yeah, it's the same old story. This Scion plus Blitzcrank frontline. You're throwing in the Imperials and then just 3 assassins. So that is that. And there are variations of this comp. Obviously, you could end up taking out like a Blitzcrank for a Braum if you want to. You'll be losing scrap, but you'll be gaining Syndicate, actually, which is kind of interesting. If you had like a secondary carry, a Kali, then it could be good. So that's something to think about. And that's everything in A tier. These are the comps I would definitely recommend playing, like looking to play. The comps below this, I think, are okay if you end up in a spot to play them. Like if you randomly hit like an Urgot too, then it's fine to play Urgot. But I would not be looking to play Urgot if you could help it. So let's get into them though. First we have Heimerdinger carry. So this right here is my interpretation of a Heimerdinger comp. This is what's done well for me before is Heimerdinger, and I actually have items on this one. With 5 Innovators board, you're getting in Scholar here, and then you are throwing in the Orianna for Clockwork. I think this is a great comp. The Vhagar here is signifying where you should put the Hextech Bear. By the way, it's not a Vhagar in this comp, sorry. But yeah, I think this is a really strong version of the Heimerdinger comp. You just roll down for multiple Heimers. If you have a Yordle opener and you hit a lot of Heimerdingers, then I think it's totally fine to play this. And if you like get a blue buff early, blue buff Decap plus Gunblade is really good. You can do like blue buff IEJG is really good on him. Archangels is fine on him. A lot of stuff you can play on Heimerdinger. But this is, I think, the best way to play Heimerdinger. So that's that. Still trying to keep this not super long, so I'll go through these last ones. I think they're less important, so I'll go through them a bit faster. And you guys can also just look at these team builders in your own time if you want to. This is a Yone comp. I think Yone's just way weaker than he used to be. I just don't think 6 Challenger Yone is that great. I mean, you can play it. Play 6 Challenger Yone, play 2 Bodyguards, you get the Academy off Leona. This is the board, ideally. And, if you hit some really good augments, if you hit, like, Knife's Edge, if you hit, what's the one that disarms? On Guard, I think that's what it's called. You hit an early Yone too, then definitely play this. But I just don't think it's the strongest, most capped board, especially this patch, especially when you could be playing just Kaisa or Fiora in a more capped board with enchanters in this Fiora Kaisa board up here. So I think, the only reason you're playing this is if you have a specific reason to play Yone. If you have like some kind of Academy spat or something like that, or you really want to play a bunch of challengers because you have augments that benefit a bunch of challengers. Okay, next we have Samira. So like I was saying, I think Samira is actually the worst Imperial carry compared to Talon. But she's still okay, If you go to Samira 3, you're going to play this comp. And this is a very different board than the Talon one, because you are playing into the Challengers, which allow you to play Camille, which you can play with Orianna for Clockwork. You can still play the Echo, because he just synergizes really well with Samira and these Challengers because of the attack speed increase that his ult gives. So, they're dashing into the enemy team, the big Echo bubble hits the entire enemy team, and then Samira gets a ton of attack speed. Pretty good. And then once again, Janna is just thrown in here. Tark is also good if you have a good socialite spot. If not, you could take this out, throw in like a Yuumi. You could even take both of these out and play bodyguards if you feel like you need more frontline. So this is what a general Samir comp looks like. I don't think it's that crazy, but I think it is playable. Next, we have an oldie, but not really a goodie anymore, Urgot. I'm sad that Urgot's in this state. I love playing Urgot, but he just does not feel that strong. Part of it is that Jinx doesn't feel that strong. So, like I had a game yesterday where I hit a Jinx 2, like really quickly, and I just went 4th. Like Jinx 2 is just probably the weakest of the 2-star 5 costs, in my opinion. Like there's some that'll just win you the game. You hit like a really a Kaisa 2 with really good items. Like she can still win you the game even after nerfs. You hit a Tom Kench 2, like that's free elo. But this is a variation of the Urgot comp that runs a strong 4-bruiser frontline, Jinx for twin shot, Yuumi because she's just a great unit, Janna as well to get Scholar in. So yeah, this is a great variation of the comp. You can also, if you want, take this out, and play a variation that runs, say, Kaisa plus Kog'maw if you want to get that mutant in and you have a Kaisa carry. You could even end up cutting some of these units. Like, you really don't need Vi that much here, so you can end up cutting Vi for a Janna so that you get Scholar back in. You could even cut both Scholar units, play Vi again for the 4 Bruiser, and then also play Fiora so that you're getting the Challenger buff plus the Enforcer buff. So a lot of different things you can do with Urgot, but I just think the Urgot unit is not that strong, so I wouldn't be looking to play him every game if possible. But if you end up in a spot to play him, you play him. All right, in these last few comps, I'm going to go lightning through them because I don't think they're that strong. But yeah, we have Malzahar, Warwick carry, Fiora, or I keep thinking this is Fiora for some reason, Katarina, and then in D tier we have Twitch carry and Trundle carry. And 100%, just to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience playing all of these. This has just been my experience seeing them. You know, I did see like Bebe on the Korean server play a Warwick carry to a first, so like that does not mean that these are unplayable. It's just that I feel like the spots to play them are highly specific as opposed to these, which you can play almost every game. But let's go through the comps anyway. So we have Malzahar here. This is the 5 mutants variation of Malzahar, also playing Scion. So you're just going to have a super tanky Cho'Gath and a super tanky Malzahar. If there's a situation where you get a mutant spat, you can slap it on Scion, take out either this or Kaisa, depending on how much you really care about having Protector in. And then play something else. You could throw in just a Yuumi because it's a strong unit. You could throw in like an Arcanist if you really want to. There's not a lot of like random units that spike this board super hard, you know, like throw in, I mean, you can't even throw in another Bruiser. You already have 2 Bruiser. So like, I don't know, you could take this out and put in like a Blitzcrank and have 3 Protector if you get like Protector Cho'Gath as well, and then you'd have 4 Protector. So there's some different stuff you could do depending on the spats you get. But really, you're just rolling for a super big Cho'Gath and a super big Malzahar. And if you hit Cho 3 and Mouse 3 with good items, you're probably top 4ing if you have an okay augment. You see how I have so many like small things that you need. You need to hit 3-star of both of them, and you need good augments, and you need good items. I just don't think it's that strong. But when you hit, you should play this. It is definitely a comp to keep in mind. Next is the Warwick comp. This comp, you really like a spatula here, like a Chemtech spat, so you could either go up to 7 Chemtechs or take out some of these units like Singed and put in, say, 4 Challenger. And at 100% disclosure here, because I don't play this comp very much, this is Ace of Spades Warwick build from his tier list, so I want to give credit to him. I think he's a really great player. Check out his Twitch, and he does the Mobalytics tier list. If you go here, you can see Ace of Spades. So I'm not chilling for him. I just think he's a great player, and I'm using his build here because I honestly don't know. But you know, people have asked about Warwick carry. This is what a good Warwick carry board looks like. It's really strong early game. If you can get something like Instant Injection, put in 5 Chemtech, put in 7 Chemtech, just have Warwick tear through the entire enemy team, it is good. It is just pretty specific, the spots that you'll end up playing this in, but it can be good. So that's something. And the last C tier comp is Katarina. I don't think it's very good anymore. This is the standard Katarina 6 Assassin board. You tend to, when you play Katarina, reroll for these 6 units right here. Everything but the Twitch and the Akali. Like Twitch you can just throw in late game, or if you have an extra Assassin emblem, you can put it on either Blitz or Leona, so that's something that you can do. But you tend to reroll for these at 3-2, try to hit a lot of Katarinas, ideally a Katarina 2, and stabilize around that. I just don't think the comp's good enough anymore that you can stabilize super hard on this board and have a late game that you can play once you hit Katarina 3. So I think it's pretty weak, but if you want to play Katarina reroll, this is what it looks like. And then lastly are D tier comps. Twitch reroll, once again, this is Ace of Spades comp, I'm pretty sure. So this is what a Twitch reroll comp would look like, but I've never seen it work, really. I feel like you'd have to have like featherweights and hit a lot of Twitches early, and that's like the only way that would happen. So maybe it's plausible. I don't know. Someone send me a link of them popping up with Twitch reroll, and I'll give you a cookie. But yeah, I don't think this is very good. That's why it's in the low tier, but this is what a comp would look like if you somehow ended up playing it. And same thing with Trundle. Trundle is another, I feel like, highly specific comp here. This is a 6 scrap variation with Trundle. So if you hit a ton of Trundles early and you have some reason to play a lot of Trundles, I don't really know what that would be. I guess Featherweights again. You can play like a 6 scrap Trundle board with a Trundle 3, and he'll do some amount of damage. But yeah, that is it for the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to do more of these, just sort of like weekly tier lists, because the meta does change a lot week to week. So let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing a tier list a week. I don't want to overload people with too many tier lists, but I think, a tier list right after the patch comes out on like a Thursday is really good, and then wait like a week, and then the Thursday after that, release another tier list. And, there also might be B patches, so you might just have a tier list for the B patch. A lot of different, I feel like the meta changes in TFT so quickly that it's nice to have a tier list once a week. Sometimes you would need one even like more than once a week, but I'm definitely not going to do that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any feedback, let me know. This is only my second tier list video. I'm happy with the Team Builder edition, and I will, for my own builds that I've put together in Team Builder, I'll try to add some more items and some core champions on the side here that Olytics lets you do. Maybe I'll eventually get to the point where I can have like a column here for like really good augments, so I can just put together a really strong Google Doc for you guys. I will also have the link to this in the description so that you can look at all of these that I put in this video. So if you just want to look at any of them more in depth, then check that out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe, etc., etc. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.